Hello, welcome back to Shoogly Shed Motors. The Yamaha XV750 that I've been working on for the last wee while is gone from the shed for the time being. It's a way to get a custom exhaust fabricated by Hitchcock's Motorcycles down in England. So in the meantime, the free ramp has been taken up by an interesting bike that belongs to a friend of mine, John. I built the VMAX Musashi for him a couple of years ago, and this is John's kind of daily rider that he's just picked up a few months ago. It is a 1993 Triumph Trident 900, and I've got a little job to fit a luggage rack to the back. So yeah, let's check the bike out first. So, Triumph Trident 900, 1993, a good vintage. I've taken the seat off already, in case you're wondering. But yeah, this is a lovely clean example of this bike in more or less original condition. Not really been molested or tampered with too much. So yeah, I think John's done a good job picking this up. I think these were the precursors to the Speed Triple. And it is, it's a triple cylinder engine. They've got really distinct, unique sound, and it's got a little set of sort of aftermarket megaphone exhausts on there. It does sound pretty cool. Yeah, the little job I have today is to fit a luggage rack more or less where that grab handle is for the pillion. So there is basically 2 bolts I can pick up from where the grab handle is mounted. Then I'm also going to have to figure out 2 other mounting points. But I thought it was just another interesting, cool bike, just to make a little break from the XV750 to show on the channel, and yeah, a little bit of fabrication. Right, so obviously pillion grab handle, this will be useful in some instances, but John is quite into sort of longer distance trips and like overnighters, camping trips, things like that. So a luggage rack can be quite useful. Basically the mounting points for the pillion grab handle is just sort of 2 bolts directly into the subframe here, but there's nothing else, around that is useful. We have this rack. This rack, I think it's meant for one of these bikes because these 2 holes for those mounting points do match up. But there's another 2 tabs up here that don't align with anything really. And in actual fact, they kind of get in the way of the plastic seat cowl here. So I'm going to have to find out, figure out a place that I can maybe weld some captive nuts or something like that discreetly, that we can then build off of to pick up to the back of the rack somewhere here and provide some kind of stability in the back. Yeah, first things first, I think, is we'll get the grab handle off and then try and mount this up as is and see what we're working with, see what needs to come off, and see what needs to go on. So straight off the bat, these tabs are in the way. So I think once they're off, the rack will sit nicely. So yeah, angle grinder out, let's take these tabs off. Let's see if she fits now. Beautiful. So that's much better. That obviously now doesn't impact on the plastic cowl at the back. And then pretty sure if we just get the seat and have a look. Yeah, the seat still fits up. But that's perfect. So all we need now is basically a couple of mounts from the back portion where we cut those tabs off to come down and meet up with another part of the bike. Down here next to the rear indicators, there's these little loops, which I think are for bungee straps for luggage. And where they're mounted to this tab here beside the indicator, there's quite a convenient little part of the plate which I think we could probably drill and put a riv nut into. You could either do it there or slightly higher up on this portion here. Basically, I've used these before. I used quite a lot of them on the Z400 that I had back in the shed. Riv nuts are so useful for this kind of application because it doesn't involve doing any welding on the bike. You get welding in captive nuts and things like that. And so if you don't have a welder and you want to kind of fix a captive nut of sorts, a riv nut is really the answer. I'm kind of tempted to go higher, go up here. I'm not sure if there's enough gap so that the two kind of little wire or rod ends that are welded onto the back here, there's a gap between them that this might go in between, but I'm not 100% convinced. Now, saying that, it might work quite well. Yeah, tell you what, let's do it. Let's just go for there. Keeps it away from the plastic as well, so I can just go straight up the way. Yeah, so we'll drill some holes here, put an M8 riv nut on each side, and then need to basically bring something up to the rack off of there that supports the back of it. So the riv nut screws onto a riv nut tool, like that. Now that that's on there, we poke it in the hole and we set it. Like that. An extra little, an extra little, and screw the tool from it, and we now have a nice little zinc plated threaded mounting point. Perfect. Right, I think those are really discreet. You barely notice them, and they work perfectly for this application. They are probably about maybe 30mm sort of aft of the plastic. So they'll need either a kink and a bend or a standoff here to begin with. But because of the back of the indicator, that would make that tricky. So I'm thinking about some flat bar that will basically come up, bend that way, and then go diagonally up to meet this outer rail here, which would give quite a lot of nice support. Either that, or we could have it come up and then come into the gusset that it originally had the tabs on. I quite like the idea of just coming up to here. It adds a nice bit of strength further back on the rack as well, just a wee bit more kind of angular strength to it. I mean, it's a luggage rack, it's not taking the weight of the world, but you want it to be rigid and not bounce about. So yeah, we'll take some measurements, get some metal cut and shaped, and start tacking things up here. Right, that's going to work well. So basically I need to make a duplicate of this in sort of flip. It should be more or less the same bends, but that angle needs to obviously go that way and the bird's beak needs to go the other side. So it's not overly complicated, but yeah, I've said this a few times, making copies of things is quite tricky. So we'll might take a couple of attempts, but we'll make another one of these and then get them all kind of bolted up, clean off the paint from the rack where we're going to tack it, get it all tacked up into position on the bike, get it off the bike, do the welding, put it back on, double check the fitment, and then we can get the whole rack sort of resprayed and ready for final fitment. Right, that's both sides fabricated now. I've cleaned off the paint on the rack and on the ends of these bars, and we're going to get these tacked up with the TIG welder. I'll throw a couple of good tacks on it and then see where we go from there. If I take it off to weld it, I need to be careful that it doesn't distort and manipulate, because obviously these are quite precise mounting holes that we've got here. We've got the two at the front and the two at the back. They need to line up, so if we weld it and it distorts, then that'll be a problem. So yeah, first things first I think is just to get good tacks on these and then kind of go from there. Fire, do-do-do, I'll teach you to burn. Do-do-do, do-do, fire. It's one of the absolute huge advantages of my fixture table is being able to clamp down pieces to weld so that they don't shift and distort. And that has worked wonderfully, if I do say myself. So, yeah. That's all welded up. What I'm going to do now is take it off, clean everything up, get the flap wheel on the grinder and radius some corners, make it look a bit more professional, and then yeah, it's going to get a lick of paint. Right, that's the paint on the rack dry, so we can lift it into position, set it down like that onto its mounts. Helpful if I had the bolts on the right side. So obviously the two original mounting bolts up here. And then I've got two 13mm bolts to go in underneath. There we go. That's absolutely rock solid. Sits nicely there and there. Yeah, I think we're on to a winner. So I'm going to reconnect the battery. I should have mentioned earlier I took the battery off, the negative lead off the battery for welding. Just good practice. That's it. Well, that was a fun little fabrication job. I like doing things like that. A kind of start to finish wee job. A bit like the Sachs bike that I worked on a wee while ago, and the Z400. Little fabrication jobs on that. I like just, you know, getting a bike, making a thing, painting it, refitting it to the bike, and then kind of job done. It's a lot more kind of instant satisfaction than building like a full custom bike from start to finish. That takes a lot of work, and the kind of satisfaction is quite hard earned. But yeah, the rack obviously adds quite a bit of functionality to this bike for John. Like I said earlier, means you can put some luggage on the back of it, strap a tent to it and go off camping, that kind of thing. Very cool bike for that kind of thing. Yeah, it's just an interesting bike. Like I said, it's 1993, a good vintage. It was the year I was born. I don't know if that makes anyone feel old, but I definitely feel, I don't feel young. But yeah, 1993, I suppose that's a vintage now, vintage bike. Not one you see particularly often. And like I said, they're a little bit of history, the kind of precursor to the Speed Triple. So yeah, worth keeping this bike as original as possible. It's a bit of a survivor. Anyway, as usual, please do give me a like, leave me a comment, and make sure you subscribe to the Shoogly Shed channel. I appreciate all the support, and I'll hopefully see you next time. I'm not sure what we'll be on. I'm hoping we'll have some XV750 updates for you, but you never know. Take care. Goodbye.